Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear participants. Welcome to this session of textual study of the Quran. We have been studying Surah Anam, which is the sixth surah of the Quran and the first surah of the second chapter of the Quran. This surah, of course, is addressing the Quraysh and is pointing out to them some of their blemishes regarding their faith, especially the element of polytheism that had become part and parcel of their faith. And the Quran has repeatedly warned them and admonished them that this is a belief that they don't have any corroboration from God or from the Almighty, because of the fact that had God any partners, or had He picked out any partners for Himself, He would have been the first one to inform people about them. And in the absence of any such information, polytheism becomes an iftara, a falsehood concocted against God. And repeatedly, various examples have been cited, various parables have been cited in order to shake and jolt them. So we are continuing with this whole theme from Surah Anam, verse 104. The words are قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ بَصَائِرُ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ فَمَنْ أَبْصَرَ فَلِنَفْسِهِ وَمَنْ عَمِيَ فَعَلَيْهَا وَمَا أَنَا عَلَيْكُمْ بِحَفِيظٍ وَكَذَلِكَ نُصَرِّفُ الْآيَاتِ وَلِيَقُولُوا دَرَسْتَ وَلِنُبَيِّنَهُ لِقَوْمٍ يَعْلَمُونَ. Insightful revelations have come to you from your Lord, so he who now shows insight will benefit his own self, and he who remains blind will alone bear its consequences as far as I am concerned, and I am not your keeper. So you can clearly see that these words emanate directly from the tongue of the Prophet. So, as is the general case of the Quran, that at time whatever has to be said by the Prophet to the people is said by the words "qul" or "tell them," but it's not the case here. And what needs to be understood is that this style of revelation shows the proximity of the soul of the Prophet to the divine. It is as if God is speaking from his tongue. So remember, this is "Qad ja'akum basairum min rabbikum" is something which the Prophet is directly telling them, telling his opponents. And as I said, this is something which has been a very, very important element in the Quran. And when it is said that our revelations have come to you in various ways, as you can see from the next verse, thus do we present our revelations in various styles, so that the truth is conclusively communicated to them, and so that they speak out. You have thoroughly read out to us, and so that we can make it fully clear to all those who want to know. So the various styles, of course, referring to the fact that the Almighty has left no stone unturned. Everything has been said in a way that no one can say that anything has been left unsaid. So as far as the Quran is concerned, it has tried to make this point that as people must realize that everything that needed corroboration, everything that needed proof has been presented before them, not in one, two, or three, but in several styles, so that different people having different dispositions can understand the various arguments that are proffered regarding the oneness of God. And the Quran has repeatedly said that this oneness of God, the Tawheed, monotheism, the monotheistic aspect of religion, is something for which they do not require any scripture. It is something which is inborn, innate, intuitively found in every person. And if there is some distortion, or if there is some aspect in which people have been influenced by their outer atmosphere or the outer environment, then the Quran actually tries to caution and prod them and makes them realize that they must not succumb to this belief in a continuous and consistent way, because it is something that is neither corroborated by any scriptural evidence nor by their own intuition or their own internal disposition. So وَكَذَلِكَ نُصَرِّفُ الْآيَاتِ would mean that the Almighty has said that I have communicated everything in a different way. And then it is said, you have, so that they speak out, you have thoroughly read out to us. So though they may not express it through their tongues, their hearts would cry out that the Prophet has read out in such a profound and thorough manner that it is as if he has rubbed off the book, and in this way he has fully communicated the truth to the people. So the rasta means that when you read something with your fingers following what you read, it is as if after a lot of reading, the writing gets a little dim. So in accordance with this, the Quran has said that the Prophet has read out the Quran to them so many times that they would acknowledge that he has left no stone unturned. And When it is said that the Almighty has not appointed anyone as their guarantor or guardian, of course, it is said that the implication being that God intended He could have forcibly stopped people from indulging in polytheism. This He did not do, as will become evident from the next verse. It says, وَلَا تَسُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَيَسُبُّوا اللَّهَ عَدْوًا بغير علم كذلك زينا لكل أمة عملهم ثم إلى ربهم مرجعهم فينبئهم بما كانوا يعملون. So before we go on to this, when the Prophet has said in the previous verse that وما عليكم وما أنا عليكم بحفيظ, that I am not your keeper. So obviously this is something that they have to understand, that the Almighty could have forcibly stopped people from indulging in polytheism, and they would never have been able to do so. However, God says that He wants to test people by giving them the choice to accept the straight path of monotheism from their own free will, whether they follow the straight path of monotheism or the crooked path of polytheism. It is left to the people. And the Prophet has not been appointed as someone who is required to forcibly make them accept faith. He is not their guarantor, so that he would be held accountable if they do not accept faith. So the Prophet should continue to carry out his responsibility and leave them to themselves. They alone will bear the consequences of their misdeeds. Now, here in this particular verse, it is said that people should not abuse they invoke besides God, because, of course, out of their own animosity and their own extreme emotion, they might end up abusing God. So this forms an apt guidance, I would say, and has been given so that in view of the critique on polytheism, Muslims are not induced to exceed the limits. You see, when something is critiqued, when something is criticized, at times people don't realize and they go to another extreme. So it is here that at a very appropriate instance, Muslims, the believers, they are stopped and they are made to realize the fact that they should not go to a certain extreme in pronouncing in denouncing their gods, because this would inevitably make them denounce the God of the Muslims. So both intellect and justice entail that people should confine themselves to the critique and explanation of various principles, beliefs, and ideologies. This is the right approach, that you are able to furnish a particular argument and substantiate it. Otherwise, there is a chance that since the adversaries do not have knowledge of God's attributes and His rights, they too will exceed the limits in return, and in their bias for their false deities, they will end up abusing the real God. Again, this is something which God has very explicitly communicated to the believers, that this is something that they must abstain from, because ultimately, if they don't realize this, then there's going to be a backlash, and as a result of that backlash, it will be their God who would be abused by these people, and this would, of course, make them or draw them further away from God. So, as far as the Quran is concerned, it says, okay, let me see. Yes, I think that I have missed two verses in between. Just skip two verses. I'm just going to go back to verse 106 and 107, because I just jumped to verse 108 after 105 somehow. So let me just read through the verses that I have missed in between. So these are verses 106 and 107. The words are, ittabi ma uhiya ilayka min rabbika la ilaha illahu wa a'rid anil mushrikeen wa law sha'a Allahu ma ashraku wa ma ja'alnaka alayhim hafiza wa ma anta alayhim biwakil. Follow, O Prophet, what is being revealed to you from your Lord. In reality, there is no deity but Him. And if they do not believe, ignore these polytheists. Had God willed, they would never have indulged in polytheism. We have not appointed you their keeper, nor are you their guarantor. So, something that we have also discussed earlier on, that the Almighty would have, had He wanted, He would have forced people to just adopt monotheism. This is not something which God wanted. He wanted people to adopt monotheism out of their own free will, and not to force them in any way regarding their beliefs. Otherwise, there would have been no test. What test would have been there if people were forced to believe, and they did not have a choice to believe or to disbelieve? So that is why the Prophet has been told that neither can you force this down their throats, and nor is God going to do that, because this is something that would absolutely be counterproductive to the very test which God wants to put them through. And as the verse says, that "Wama anta alayhim bivakil," that you're not been appointed as their keeper or their guarantor. And then it is said that كَذَلِكَ زَيَّنَّا لِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ عَمَلَهُمْ ثُمَّ إِلَى رَبِّهِمْ مَرْجِعُهُمْ فَيُنَبِّئُهُم بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. This is because we have made the actions of each community seem pleasing to itself. Then one day to their Lord will they return. At that time he will inform them what they have been doing. So at that time they will inform them what they have been doing. Of course, this is another warning that the Almighty says that we have made the actions of each community seem pleasing to itself. So the implication is that the love of customs, traditions, and views has been engendered by God in every nation's nature. So beliefs and deeds should be cleansed. However, no such method should be adopted in this regard, which may become a source of negatively inciting someone's emotions to these cherished things. As you can see, the words which have been used by the Quran are "kazalika zayyana likulli umma." So, zayyana or tazyin would mean to create something which is pleasing. So, it is actually a reference to the fact that it is quite natural for a nation to have a bias and attachment for its cherished things and cultural traditions. Because if this does not exist, then national unity cannot come into being. It is these traditions which bind families, nations, and countries together. And in their absence, people become leaves scattered about by the wind. I mean, just like a gust of wind will scatter these leaves, in a similar way, people will just become disparate. So has a certain place in human life. These customs and traditions have a certain place in human life, and it is actually a requirement of human nature as well. So it should be checked only when it starts to deviate from the truth, and should be checked in a manner that the necessary obligation owed to it is not compromised. So remember, these traditions are they are the beauty of a nation to have those traditions. But another thing is when these traditions or these customs, they are in conformity or not in conformity with what righteousness is, then they have to be checked. So that is why it is said, كَذَلِكَ زَيَّنَّا لِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ عَمَلَهُم, that this is what the Almighty has done, that He has made the actions of each community pleasing to itself. But what will happen? ثُمَّ إِلَى مَرْجِعُهُمْ فَيُنَبِّئُهُم بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. One day, their Lord will to their Lord will they return. At that time, He will inform them what they have been doing. So, in other words, if you look at the stress in these words, you will feel that what is being said is that the Prophet should actually rest assured that his task is only to explain the truth. If these people insist on their foolishness, they themselves will be regarded as wrongdoers and will one day appear before God for their accountability. There they will bear the consequences of their misdeeds, and the Prophet will not be responsible for them, because it is not the job of the Prophet to forcibly make them accept faith. His job is to communicate, and he should rest assured that he has done his job. And as far as they are concerned, now the ball is in their court. It is now upon them to accept or reject and face the consequences. وَأَقْسَمُوا بِاللَّهِ جَهْدَ أَيْمَانِهِمْ لَإِنْ جَاءَتْهُمْ آيَةٌ لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهَا قُلْ إِنَّمَا الْآيَاتُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَمَا يُشْعِرُكُمْ أَنَّهَا إِذَا جَاءَتْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. They swear emphatic oaths by God and say that if a sign comes to them, they will definitely believe in it. Say, signs are with God alone, but Muslims, what do you know that even if these come, they will not believe? So this demand was only meant to be a propaganda. So as they say that if a sign comes to them, they will believe. Do you think that they will actually believe? No, it's just propaganda. If they wanted to give what we can say is that by making this demand, they wanted to give this impression that if they did not profess faith, then the only reason for this is that they were not being shown any sign, which could actually become decisive in favor of Prophet Muhammad's veracity. They would contend that this demand of theirs was very rational, and that if it was fulfilled, there would be no hindrance for them to profess faith. And in return, in response, the Prophet has been told to say that signs are with God alone. I am no one to ask God to send signs. The type of signs that these people are demanding can only be with God. It is up to Him to show them or not. So, in this regard, only God can decide on the basis of His knowledge and wisdom. And as far as the Prophet himself is concerned, he is only a messenger of God. His real obligation is to warn people of the hereafter and give them glad tidings. Beyond this, he has no authority. He has absolutely no authority. And therefore, it is said that Muslims, but Muslims alone, what do you know? Even if these come, they will believe. They will not believe. So, clearly, you can see that these words are addressed to common Muslims. They show that after repeated demands from the disbelievers, Muslims too would contend that God had granted miracles to previous prophets. So why does God not show them the miracle that they demand so that these brothers are able to adopt the right path? So it seems that the common Muslim was being affected by the demands of the disbelievers, and they would have this question that why doesn't God just show the sign that they're demanding and just conclude their case? So the Quran states that whatever miracle is shown to them, they will not believe, because the real reason of their denial is not that they would accept if some miracle is shown to them. The real reason of their denial is their own arrogance. So that is how the Quran has explained their audacity of denying the truth. وَنُقَلِّبُ أَفْئِدَتَهُمْ وَأَبْصَارَهُمْ كَمَا لَمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهِ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَنَذَرُهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. We at that time also shall turn away their hearts and eyes the way they did not believe in this Quran the first time, and shall leave them to wander in their rebelliousness. So, in other words, the real reason for their not accepting faith is stated here, that the arrogance that we stated earlier on, the rebelliousness. The Quran says that fi tughyanihim ya'mahun, they will be left in their own arrogance to wander about in their own rebelliousness. So, had this not been the case, they would have believed in the Quran the very first time. If now a miracle is shown to them, this would further take them away from believing. This is because the law of God is that those who out of arrogance incline their hearts and sights away from the truth, they are turned away by God towards a direction which is opposite to the truth. So it is the law of God that those that look in crooked directions instead of looking straight, and tread the wrong path instead of the right one, they are made to end up with crooked hearts and crooked ideologies. And like squint-eyed people, they are only able to see everything from their own angle. And this is an established principle we have discussed it a number of times. For example, we know in Surah Saf it has been sufficiently dealt with by the words فَلَمَّا زَاغُوا أَزَاغَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُم, which means when they went astray, God led their hearts astray. So it is basically a punishment that when they decided to go astray, God not only made them go astray, but He led them to go astray as a punishment for this behavior. And this verse also, this established practice of God is referred to, and Muslims and believers are questioned as to how they think that if these people are shown a miracle on their demand, they will accept faith. Because after all, these signs are found around people and within them. So they are asking for more and more miracles. Why don't they open their eyes and see the world around them and the world within them? When none of these is able to set right the approach of their hearts and eyes, how can a new sign change them? So the Quran is repeatedly telling them that the signs that they are demanding, more than those, are found outside them and within them. And how can the veil which stretches across them today be removed tomorrow? And where will the blindness that obstructs them to see today go away when a sign manifests itself? So clearly, the Quran has said and done what was the needful. So, وَنُقَلِّبُ أَفْئِدَتَهُمْ وَأَبْصَارَهُمْ كَمَا لَمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهِ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَنَذَرَهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. And then it is said, وَلَوْ أَنَّنَا نَزَّلْنَا إِلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةَ وَكَلَّمَهُمُ الْمَوْتَى وَحَشَرْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ قُبُلًا مَا كَانُوا لِيُؤْمِنُوا إِلَّا أَنْ يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَهُمْ يَجْهَلُونَ. If we had even sent down angels to them, and the dead had also spoken to them, and collected in groups all things of the world before them, even then they would not have believed, except if God willed. But what can be done, as most of them are afflicted with ignorance? So clearly, the Almighty has said that such is their foolishness and their ignorance, that if God had sent down his angels, and even if the dead had gotten up and started talking, and the Almighty had gathered everything of the world, even then they would not have believed. So, this is basically an assurance being sounded to the common believer that don't think that there is anything amiss on the part of God. He has done sufficient, He has provided sufficient proofs, but it is these people who are afflicted with arrogance, with ignorance. So, the nature of this ignorance which afflicts them and the conditions they impose, instead of deciding on the basis of knowledge and arguments, will never induce them to seek guidance. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَا لِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ عَدُوًّا شَيَاطِينَ الْإِنسِ وَالْجِنِّ يُوحِي بَعْضُهُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ زُخْرَفَ الْقَوْلِ غُرُورًا وَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبُّكَ مَا فَعَلُوهُ فَذَرْهُمْ وَمَا يَفْتَرُونَ. It is not just you who is faced with such a situation. We have similarly, we have similarly made the mischievous among human beings and the jinn to be the enemy of every prophet. In order to deceive one another, they keep inspiring falsehoods to one another. Had your Lord intended, they would never have been able to do this. So leave them on their fabrications. So the first thing that you can see is basically, as Ustaz has pointed out, it's something that is expressed by way of assurance, which means that it is not just you who is faced with this situation of prophet. It's not the first time that the prophet or prophet of God is facing this opposition and antagonism. The opposition and antagonistic objections and demands of the Quraysh, which the Quraysh are exhibiting before the prophets, a similar opposition front was offered to every single prophet of God earlier on. They faced the same opposition from their followers. So the prophet should not think that he is the first one who is facing this. In fact, the mischievous among humans and the jinn to be the enemy of every prophet. So this is what being said, that as far as the Quran is concerned, it has totally described what is being said to them. And when it is said that we have similarly made the mischievous among humans and the jinn to be the enemy of every prophet, again, this is the reference to the established practice of God, according to which miscreants are given respite so that they are able to do what they want. So you can see that the way this respite is given is that the Almighty wants to check and test His messengers also. And why are the miscreants and devils given this respite? Again, as we can go along, the reasons are being stated. So the words, as you can see, is that in order to deceive one another, they keep inspiring falsehoods to one another. The actual construction is zukhraful qawl, and of course it refers to those polytheistic innovations which have been invented in every era by the collusions of devils among jinn and men. So they get together, conspire and connive, and they present these false claims. They would then label these as the Sharia and give them currency in the society. When the prophets of God and the righteous called upon them to correct them, they begin to dispute and debate with them. At this instance too, it is supposed from the Quran that nothing different happened. When the Prophet called them to monotheism and pointed out the baselessness of the things they had prohibited on the basis of their idols and idolatrous practices and beliefs, these leaders of polytheism rose up against the Prophet in antagonism and rebelliousness. They tried to lead astray all those who they could inveigle and influence, and try to convince the masses that Prophet Muhammad was trying to lead them away from the religion of their forefathers and from the religion of Abraham himself. So this was the weapon that they adopted. And then the Quran says, وَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبُّكَ مَا فَعَلُوهُ فَذَرْهُمْ وَمَا يَفْتَرُونَ. Had your Lord intended, they would never have been able to do this. Now this sentence is actually meant to sound assurance to the Prophet. Had your Lord intended, they would never have been able to do this. So the Prophet should know that God is not helpless before the fabrications of these people. He Himself has granted them this freedom. The purpose is to test them, and this world has been created as a trial and test. Otherwise, had the Almighty wanted, He could have forcibly stopped these miscreants and devils from their fabrications. So, as the Quran says, وَلِتَصْغَى إِلَيْهِ أَفْئِدَةُ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ وَلِيَرْضَوْهُ وَلِيَقْتَرِفُوا مَا هُمْ مُقْتَرِفُونَ. God made such enemies so that through this the truth of the truthful becomes evident, and so that the hearts of those who deny the hereafter are inclined towards it. They are happy with it, and they can earn whatever they intend to. So, when it is said that they are happy with it and they can do what they intend, what does it mean? It actually means that these are the reasons for giving them respite. The freedom granted to the miscreants to make hay is to expose their evil fully, and in this manner, the truth of God is conclusively communicated to them. So, as we just saw, that this freedom is given to them, this respite is given to them, and they think that this respite is to their advantage, whereas this respite is not to their advantage. It is to fully expose them. And this full exposure actually is going to happen one day, and the Quran makes it sure that it does. So, as you can see, the words are أَفَغَيْرَ اللَّهِ أَبْتَغِي حَكَمًا وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَنزَلَ إِلَيْكُم مُفَصَّلًا وَالَّذِينَ آتَيْنَاهُمُ الْكِتَابَ يَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّهُ مُنَزَّلٌ مِّن رَّبِّكَ بِالْحَقِّ فَلَا تَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْمُمْتَرِينَ. You are fighting with me, so tell me, should I find a judge other than God, even though it is He who has revealed this book to you, in which everything related to religion and Sharia is mentioned in detail? And those to whom we have given the book before this know, O Prophet, that it has been revealed with the truth from their Lord. Thus it should not be that you become among those who doubt. Again, the very, very important style of argument, which you can see, it pervades the Quran at other instances also. It tells the mushrikun also that those people who are given the book, the people of the book, what about them? The Quran says, "Ya'lamuna annahu munazzalum min rabbik." They know that this has been revealed by God. They are convinced about it. Such is the apathy that they are passing through. It's not that because of any confusion or lack of information. They fully know and they are convinced that this book has come from God. فَلَا تَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْمُمْتَرِينَ. And O Prophet, it has been revealed with the truth. So it has been revealed with the truth to you, and thus it should not be that you become among those who doubt. Again, this is a very special style of the Quran. There's no chance that the Prophet is going to doubt. Absolutely, there's no possibility. This is a style of the Quran in which the Prophet is addressed, and the direction of address is actually towards his addressees. That the Prophet in no way can be doubtful regarding what he's been given. So therefore, the righteous among the people of the book will bear witness that this is from God, and hence they should not be in any doubt. Okay, and then it is said, وَتَمَّتْ كَلِمَةُ رَبِّكَ صِدْقًا وَعَدْلًا لَا مُبَدِّلَ لِكَلِمَاتِهِ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. The word of your Lord about these people has been fulfilled with truth and justice. No one can change his words, and he hears and knows all. Again, this is something which the Quran has said, that it should be absolutely clear that the verdict of God about these people stands fulfilled. It actually refers to the statement of God which He had made when Satan threatened that he will necessarily lead the progeny of Adam to polytheism and idolatry. Remember, at the very birth of mankind, this is what Satan had challenged, or Iblis had challenged the Almighty. And God had said that if this happened, He would necessarily consign Satan and his followers to hell. This was the conversation that took place at the start of mankind. And this verdict actually conforms to the standards of both truth and justice. In other words, what God has said is not only true, it is also just. Sidkan wa adla. It's not only true, it is just. This is because God has conclusively communicated the truth to them. Now, if in spite of this they insist on following the suggestions of Satan instead of following the guidance of God, then they deserve the fate God has informed them of. The verdicts of God are subservient to the established practice set by Him. No one can change it. God hears and knows all. Neither are any of His actions based on a lack of knowledge, nor is there any chance of a mistake or injustice in them. And they are absolutely perfect from every angle. وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّوكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ إِن يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَإِنْ هُمْ إِلَّا يَخْرُصُونَ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ مَنْ يَضِلُّ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُهْتَدِينَ. Most in this world are those, if you obey them, they are bound to lead you away from the path of God. They only follow conjecture and merely speculate. In reality, your Lord well knows him who has strayed from his path, and those rightly guided are also well known to him. So clearly, what is being said here is that if you follow the majority, of course, referring to the mushrikun, they'll just lead you astray. They'll just take you away from the right path, which is that of monotheism. Now, this verse, when interpreted out of context, people regard it to be a verse that is actually proscribing democracy. And you can see from the context that, there is no discussion of democracy here. People think that the majority is going to lead people astray. So they draw this conclusion from this verse, which says that in tuti aksara man fil ard, if you follow the majority of mankind, then they are going to lead you astray. Whereas this verse has a very specific context. The majority of mankind is not referred to here. It is referred to the fact that the majority of people who were living in Arabia at that time were the ones who were following polytheism and idolatry. So it is being said that if people start following them, then they are bound to lead them astray. If the people are going to follow the majority of these people, then they are bound to go astray. So this has a particular context and has nothing to do with the negation of democracy. And finally, as the words are, Inna rabbaka huwa a'lamu man yudhillu an sabilihi wa huwa a'lamu bil muhtadin. Now these words also sound assurance to Prophet that he need not worry. God knows those people who pose to be different and who are different from inside. He very well knows that as far as these people are concerned, they have gone astray. They can fool no one. God knows them from their inside, and He also knows those who are on the right path. Okay, for this we come to an end to today's lesson, and we now have time for your Q&A.
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Saleem. Assalamualaikum, everyone. First, some house rules. Please make sure that your questions are pertaining to the passage that Dr. Saleem just shared with us. And after that, if you have some time, we'll open the floor for general questions. Shabnam, please unmute your mic and ask your question.
जी थैंक यू बिस्मा सर ये आयत नंबर 106 में लिया पुलु दरस्ता सर ये मुझे थोड़ा कंफ्यूजिंग लगता है सर ये आपने कहा कि मतलब वो अपने दिल में एक्नॉलेज कर लेंगे कि आपने इसको मतलब राइटली और पढ़ा सब इसकी एक ट्रेडिशनल अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी है कि गालिबन आपने आपको वो कहते थे कि कोई एक डिफरेंट कोई शख्स है अजमी जो आपको आके पढ़ाता है और सिखाता है तो आप वो बताते हैं लोगों को इसकी एक ट्रेडिशनल अंडरस्टैंडिंग ये भी है सर एक मुझे मतलब आई हैव नो इशू जो भी इसकी सही है लेकिन मुझे समझ नहीं आ रही एक तो ये है कि मुझे ये ट्रेडिशनल अंडरस्टैंडिंग इसलिए शायद ज्यादा अपील कर रही है कि ये पीछे से रिलेटेड है ये वाला पार्ट जो डिनाई कर रहे थे ना प्रॉफिट को तो कि उनकी एक बात और दूसरे सर लेकिन अगर अल्लाह ताला उनके बारे में कह रहे हैं कि वो दिल में एक्नॉलेज कर लेंगे कि आपने इसे पढ़ के सुना दिया तो सर अल्लाह ताला ने इसको मेंशन क्यों नहीं किया मतलब ये कहा कि वो कह उठे उन्होंने अल्लाह ताला ने ऐसे कहा है कि वो पुकार उठे या वो कहें
The thing is that out of their own arrogance, they would never have expressed their defeat from their tongues. Why would they do that? You see, this is something that they would acknowledge in their hearts, but they would not have the guts to express from their tongues, because this would be like conceding defeat. I mean, this is a very...
अल्लाह ताला ने फिर इसका वर्ड नहीं अल्लाह ताला ने यूज किया ना कि वो अपने दिल में एक्नॉलेज कर लेगा.
Yes, because you see, this is something that can be understood from the context, and the word qala has been used in the Quran in so many different connotations, and one of them is to say something in your heart. The context shows that this is something. Yes, I mean, it's very, very, very important to realize that the word qala does not always mean to say something from the tongue in an audible tone. To say something in your heart is also connoted by or denoted by this word.
Right, sir.
And
thank
remember,
you, sir.
Their rebelliousness would never have let them accept the truth.
Right, sir. Ji, sir. Thank you, sir.
If anybody has any questions, please raise your hands. Otherwise, we will be moving to the idiomatic translation. Dr. Saleem, I do not see any raised hands, so maybe we can just move to the translation.
Okay. So, قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ بَصَائِرٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ قَدْ indeed جَاءَكُمْ has come to you. Basair. So basair is basically something which is very comprehensive and insightful. Mir Rabbikum, from your Lord. So very insightful things have come to you from your Lord. فَمَنْ أَبْصَرَ Fa he therefore man he apsara shows understanding falinafsihi, therefore for his own self. So he who shows understanding and insight is going to be for his own self. Waman amiya fa'alayha wa and man he who amiya became blind fa'alayha, then it will be upon him. So he who became blind, it will be upon him actually to face the consequences. Wama ana alaykum bihafiz. Wa and ma not. Ana I alaykum upon you bihafiz guardian. So I am not a guardian over you. This is what the Quran is. This is what the Prophet is telling them. Wa and kazalika in this way nusarrifu we circulate al ayat are verses waliyaqulu and so that they say darasta you have thoroughly read it out, you have really done your job, walinubayyinahu and so that we fully explain it liqaumin for people ya'lamun who want to know. So nusarrifu would means that we actually circulate these verses, implying the fact that they are mentioned in different styles, in different forms, and it's not just through one area that they are explained. Ittabi' follow ma that uhiya is revealed ilayka to you min from rabbika from your Lord. So, O Prophet, follow what is revealed to you from your Lord. La ilaha illahu, there is no God except Him. Wa and a'rid, overlook anil mushrikeen, these idolaters. So overlook or ignore these idolaters. Wa and law sha Allah, had God wanted, ma ashraku, they would not have committed polytheism. They would not have indulged in polytheism. Wa and ma not ja'alnaka made you alayhim upon them hafiza, a guarantor. So we have not made you upon them a guarantor. Wama anta alayhim biwakil, or in fact we can say that we have not appointed you or we have not made you a keeper or a person who is a guardian over them or who forces something down their throat. So the word hafiz actually means that he has not been made someone who is going to forcibly uh, make them accept belief. Wama anta alayhim biwakil. Wa and ma not anta you alayhim upon them wakil, their guarantor. So you also are not their guarantor, which means that you are not responsible for what they do. Wa and la not tasubbu, abuse, allazina, those who yad'una, they invoke min dunillahi, besides God. So do not abuse those deities that they invoke besides God. Fayasubbu, as a result, they will abuse Allah, God. So the result would be that they will abuse God advan. So advan means crossing the limits. بغير ilm, without knowledge. So they will be induced to go to extremes in abusing God without knowledge, because they are without knowledge, they don't know who God is, so they'll end up abusing God. Kazalika, in this way, Zayyanna, we have made to seem fair, likulli ummatin, for every ummah, amalahum, their traditions. So in this way, we have made traditions seem fair to every nation. Thumma, then, ila rabbihim, towards their Lord, marji'uhum, their return. So Summa ila rabbihim marji'uhum, towards Lord is their return. Fayunabbi'uhum, therefore they will inform them, or He will inform them, bima kanu ya'malun, what they have been doing. So then their return will be to their Lord, and then He will inform them what they had been doing. وَأَقْسَمُوا بِاللَّهِ جَهْدَ أَيْمَانِهِمْ. Aqsamu, they would swear, billahi, upon God, jahda aymanihim, emphatically, in a very, very strong way. And what would they swear? La in ja'athum aya. If a sign comes to them, la in, if ja'athum comes to them, aya, a sign, la yu'minanna biha. They will definitely believe in it. Qul, say, innama, indeed, al-ayat, signs, in the law with God. So tell them these signs are with God. Vama yush'irukum. But what do you know that even if these come, Vama yush'irukum would mean that what do you know, or Muslims or believers, what do you know? Annaha, that if ja'at, they come, la yu'minun, they'll still not believe. So as we have discussed this, that this is basically Muslims being told that if these signs come to them, even then they will not believe. So literally, Vama yush'irukum would mean that what do you believe, or what do you know? Muslims, what do you know? And it's like addressing them that if these signs come to them, even then they will not believe. Wa and nuqallibu. So nuqallibu would means we turn afidatuhum, their hearts. Wa and absarahum, their eyes. Kama, as if lam is not. Yu'minu, believe. Bihi, in it. Awwala marra, the first time. So when this will happen, what the Quran says is that we will turn their hearts and we will turn their eyes the way they did not believe the first time. I mean, the first time they denied. So again, in this instance also, when they're demanding more signs, the fate will be no different. It will be exactly the same. وَنَزَرُهُمْ, and we will leave them fi, in طُغْيَانِهِمْ, in their rebelliousness, يَعْمَهُونَ, so that they wander about. So we leave them in their rebelliousness so that they wander about. Wa, and low, if annana, we nazzalna, sent down, ilayhim, towards them, al malaika, angels. So had we sent down angels towards them, wa, and kallamahumul mauta, and the dead would have spoken to them. Kallamahumul, spoken to them, al mauta, the dead. Mauta is the plural of mayyit. So if the dead had spoken to them, wa, and hasharna, we gathered, alayhim, upon them, kulla shay'in, everything, qubula, in front of them in the form of groups. Ma kanu, all things of the world before them. So qubula would mean before them, in front of them. Ma kanu, they would not. Liyu'minu, believe. Illa, except. An, that. Yasha Allah, God wanted. Walakin, but. Aktharahum, most of them. Yajhalun, are ignorant. So basically, what is said is that had we gathered everything in front of them, they would still not have believed except if it was the will of God. But the fact is that most of them are ignorant. وَكَذَلِكَ وَكَذَلِكَ, and in this way, جَعَلْنَا, we have made, لِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ, every prophet, عَدُوًّا, every prophet, عَدُوًّا, an enemy of shayateen, of Satan, amongst the human beings, shayateen al-ins wal jinn, and Satan or devils amongst the jinn. So in other words, we have made the mischievous people or the miscreants among humans and the jinn to be the enemy of every prophet. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَا, in this way we have made, لِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ, for every prophet, enemies from amongst the devils of amongst humanity and the devils amongst the jinn. And what do? Yuhi ba'duhum ila ba'din. So they actually keep inspiring falsehoods from one to another. Zukhraful qawl, falsehood. Gurura, in order to deceive them. So they keep inspiring falsehoods to one another, and the purpose is to deceive them. Wa, and law, if sha'a, wanted, rabbuka, your Lord, ma fa'aluhu, they would not have done this. Ma, not fa'aluhu, done this. They would not have done this. Fadharhum, therefore leave them. Wa ma yaftarun, and what they are fabricating. So leave them and to themselves and the fabrications that they are actually concocting. Wa, and litasgha ilayhi. وَلِتَسْغَى إِلَيْهِ would means and towards it. أَفْئِدَةُ الَّذِينَ, the hearts of those, لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, who do not believe, بِالْآخِرَةِ, in the hereafter. So that would mean that God has made such enemies so that through this the truth of the truthful becomes evident. وَلِتَصْغَى إِلَيْهِ أَفْئِدَةُ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, so that the hearts of those who deny the hereafter are inclined towards it. So litasgha would mean so that inclined towards it. Afida is the plural of afida means the heart. Allazina, those who, and it is the plural of fuad. Allazina, those who, la, not, yu'minuna, believe, bil akhirah, in the hereafter. So that the hearts of those who deny the hereafter, who do not believe in the hereafter, litasgha ilayhi, are inclined towards it. وَلِيَرْضَوْهُ, and so that they are happy with it. وَلِيَقْتَرِفُوا, and they earn ma, what, whom they, muqtarifun, they intend to earn. So they earn exactly what they intend to do. So this basically again is an established practice of God, that they will face the music and they will face what they had actually anticipated. أَفَغَيْرَ اللَّهِ أَبْتَغِي حَكَمًا وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَنزَلَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكِتَابَ مُفَصَّلًا. أَفَغَيْرَ اللَّهِ, should I find anyone other than God, أَبْتَغِي, as a judge, should I find anyone other, and hakaman means a judge. Afaghayra Allah would mean anyone other. Abtaghi would mean that I appoint or I find. Hakaman, a judge. So should I appoint anyone other than God as the judge? وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَنزَلَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكِتَابَ. Wa, and huwa, he, allazi, who, anzala, sent down, ilaykum, towards you, al-kitab, the book, mufassala, fully explained. So should I find a judge, should I find someone, a hakam, other than God, even though it is God who has revealed this book to you, mufassala, so that he has explained everything in it. Wa, and allazina, those who, atainahum, are given, al-kitab, the book. So, and those who are given the book, ya'lamuna, they know, annahu, that it, munazzalun, has been revealed, min rabbika, from your Lord, bil haq, with the truth. Fa, therefore, la, not, takunanna, you become, minal mumtarin, amongst those who doubt. So in other words, what is said is that those who we have given the book, they know that it has been revealed with the truth from your Lord, so that this should not be something that can cause you to be amongst the doubtful. Wa, and tammat, finished. Kalimatu, the words. Rabbika, your Lord. Sidkan, with truth. Wa, and adla, justice. So basically, when the word tammat is used in this sense, when we say it's not exactly, it does not imply finish, it actually implies that what has been said is fulfilled. So tammat kalimatu rabbika would mean that what your Lord said has been fulfilled. It has come true. Sidkan, in all truth, wa adla, and in all justice. It has come truth, with all truth and justice. La, not. Mubaddila, anyone who can change. No one can change. Likalimatihi, his words. La mubaddila, la, not. Mubaddila, someone who can change. Likalimatihi, his words. So there is no one who can change his words. Wa, and huwa, he, as-sami, who hears. Al-alim, who is knowledgeable. He is one who hears and is knowledgeable. Wa, and in, if. Totir, you follow. Akthara, most of. Man fil ard, those who are in the land. Yudhilluka, they will lead you from sabilillah, from the path of God. So if you follow the majority of those in the land, they will lead you away from the path of God. In, not. Yattabi'una, they follow. Illa, except. Adhan, conjecture. They do not follow except what is conjecture. Wa, and. In, they. In is not. Whom they, illa, except. Yakhrusun, who basically conjecture or speculate. So they are only those who speculate. Inna, indeed. Rabbaka, your Lord. Huwa, he. A'lamun, knows. Man, he who. Yadillu, goes astray. An, from. Sabilihi, the path of God. So your Lord knows those people who go away from his path. Wa, and. Huwa, he. A'lamu, also knows. Bil muhtadeen, those who are rightly guided. So he knows those who have strayed from his path, and he also knows those who have been rightly guided. So with this, we come to an end to our literal and idiomatic translation as well. And with this small reminder that I do hope that you are following this literal and idiomatic translation, which is being done specially so that you are able to come closer to the text by analyzing singular words and these expressions. And this is something which is best benefited from if you can do it alone once you finish this lesson and you know the translation somehow, and then you can actually try to translate it literally. Then you're all alone by using some of the words that you can have for the vocabulary. If you're able to do this and you are able to practice this, then you'll, inshallah, after some time, be able to translate the Quran by just knowing the vocabulary and then trying to literally understand it. So now we have further time for any questions that you may want to ask.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saleem, for the translation. If anybody has any questions, please raise your hands at this time. Any questions pertaining to the passage and the translation that Dr. Saleem just shared with us? I think I have a chat question. Let me take a look at that. No, I do not. Dr. Saleem, I do not see any raised hands at this time. Are you sure anybody doesn't have any questions regarding to the passage? If not, then Dr. Saleem, can we move to general questions?
Yes, of course.
Okay, if anybody has any general questions, please raise your hand because we have some time left. I can, are there any repeat lessons? What does that mean? Ruhi, do you want to ask what that, I don't know what you mean by that. Okay, Shabnam has a question.
जी
Shabnam, go ahead, ask your question.
थैंक यू सर मुझे पूछना था दुआ के बारे में उसके कुछ आदाब हैं जो कि मैंडेटरी तो गालिबन कुछ नहीं है उसमें जैसे सर एक तो ये कहा जाता है कि दुआ का एक अदब तो ये भी है कि जो भी मांगो पहले अपने लिए मांगो और फिर दूसरों के लिए मतलब लाइक कुरानिक दुआज भी जो है अल्लाह मगफिरली मतलब पहले आता है फिर आता है वलिल वालिदैन या जो भी तो सर दूसरा
This is specifically about forgiveness, not for anything. This
Not
is
for
specifically,
everything.
but for forgiveness. Because you see, I need
Right.
to be forgiven. My interest is that I should be forgiven. So about forgiveness, it is said that the etiquette with the Quran has taught us that, in spite of the fact that everyone in this world needs forgiveness, but I should start by asking for my own forgiveness.
Right,
So this
sir.
is just for forgiveness, not for all other forms of
Okay,
dua.
अदर भी तो सर दूसरा इसी में चले मे बी इवन फॉरगिवनेस के लिए भी दुआ करनी है तो सर ये भी कहा जाता है ना कि पहले आप अल्लाह की थोड़ी हम करें फिर प्रॉफिट पर दरूद पढ़े अगरचे ये तो बात का एक इंट्रोडक्शन है इसमें लेकिन एक अदब तो आ जाता है कि हम प्रॉफिट के लिए पहले उनके जो भी उनके एहसानात हैं हम पर उनके पहले उनके लिए दरूद पढ़ दें तो सर इसमें बेटर वे क्या है generally
I mean, this is
speaking.
not something which has been specifically prescribed that you have to, I mean, start off with the durood. I mean, this is something that people have themselves, thought as an etiquette. Otherwise, it's not that you need to go through the Prophet's durood and then to God and then to your own needs. You can directly
Right,
ask
sir.
God. You can do
सर
whatever
दुआ
you
का
like.
अदब कोई इसमें खास आपकी
I mean,
व्यू में
the
नहीं
real law, the real thing about dua is that you should raise your hands once you have done what is required for your own self to be done. For example, if you would like to pray for the success in an exam, then of course this is going to bear fruit once you really worked hard for that. So the Quran wants us to do what we should do regarding our own responsibilities first, and then we should raise our hands for dua. So dua is
Right,
God's domain of helping us after we have helped our own selves.
right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, Ruhi, to answer your question, there are no repeat lessons. If there is an issue or a question that you have with a lesson that's already passed, you can, of course, raise it up as a general question in the following classes. So, that is my understanding. Dr. Saleem, I do not see any raised hands at this time for any general questions or questions regarding to the passage today. So I had a question, Dr. Saleem. So what is istikhara? Can people generally just talk about istikhara and doing istikhara? Is it something, it seems that people take it very, you know, it's very easy for them to say that. Is that correct, or what is the basis for that?
I think we have to understand that istikhara is just a prayer. It's just a dua. It's just an invocation, which means it literally means to ask for God's help and the good that we can think regarding our dua. So basically, the word istikhara is to ask for khair from God. What is the better path? And again, it's not a hotline with God as people think. Neither is it something that as soon as you do istikhara, you'll start having dreams. So this is all pre-planned, and if you have dreams, it is not because of istikhara, it is just because you have forced yourself and imagined yourself that if you utter the dua, then you'll have dreams at night, and all kinds of dreams we have. So istikhara is just a dua. It's a plain dua, and it's a beautiful dua which tells us that God, I'm standing at crossroads. I have two equal options, and I'm not being able to make up my mind. So whichever is the better option, please incline my heart and my mind towards that option. So it's like facing two or three options of equal opportunity, and you're not being able to decide which way to go. And you ask God that you help us, that please tell me that the one which is better for me, my life, my world, my next world, my own livelihood, please make my heart incline towards that. And that is all. So that inclination is something that God can produce maybe through a thought that you have. It could be even a dream, but remember, it's not something that is as a sure short thing. And it's just a request from God to guide you uh, to the right option amongst three or four equal options. And God's way of guiding you could be that He could either guide you, I mean, through maybe a thought, maybe someone comes along and gives you a correct direction, maybe you have a dream, and maybe nothing happens. Because you see, for du'as, it's not that God is obliged to always answer you. At times, your du'as are accepted, at times, they are not accepted, and at times, they are deferred, and at times, they are just, made a means of reward. They're like a virtue in your register of accounts, because dua itself is a virtuous deed. So all these outcomes, which are generally the ones that can take place for any other dua, are the same in the case of istikhara as well.
Okay, so it could also be a sign from outside, Dr. Saleem?
Of course, mostly it is. I mean, again, that sign is something that must be judged in the light of your intellect, experience, and your own practice. It should not be taken as a superstition or something of a hairy, scary thing that you just find that, oh well, some brain wave came along. So whatever comes along must again be weighed in the scales of reason.
Okay, so just a question, so, sometimes people will ask questions, and in a moment, something seems very attractive, but it may not be in the long run. So, if they see a sign which guides them towards a thing which is not looking very attractive, but in the long run it's going to be good, then what is everybody who does an istikhara is supposed to accept that, or is there a
You
sin
see, I mean,
associated?
again, you have to understand that istikhara does not always give you any sign from God. I mean,
Right.
you have to understand this. It's just a dua. So duas can be answered without anything happening. Things just
Okay.
fall in the right place. Yes, there could be a brainwave that you get. So there could be all different forms. And again, nothing can happen. So people
Right.
generally think that istikhara is something that as soon as you do it, something is going to happen.
Got it. So there's a question now: can we make istikhara prayers on someone else's behalf?
No, you should not. I mean, istikhara means that I am in suffering from a certain problem, or I am at the crossroads and I need guidance. If you look at the structure of the prayer, it starts off with I. God, I'm standing at a crossroad, and if I am someone whom you would like to guide regarding the hereafter, regarding this world, then please make my heart. It's like me saying, make my heart inclined towards what the right thing is.
Okay. Noshad Shafkat Saab, please ask your question.
Yes, Dr. At the end of Surah, ayat number 104, it is said,
Mm-hmm.
"Wama ana alaykum bihafiz," that you are
Mm.
not made watcher over them coming to the right path. Now,
Mm.
could we construe that also to be that when we ask someone, for example, our children or our wives or husbands to pray, we can only make a suggestion. We cannot
Of
force
course.
them to do
Oh,
something
yes. I mean, this is
because
something of a given.
people believe that we can beat our children and we can stand over them and make them pray. But I think what is deducible from here is that you just need to make a suggestion, show them that this is the right path, this is the
Correct.
way to do it,
Yes.
and then leave it.
That is correct. I mean, forcing people to accept some part of faith, or even trying to force them uh, to adopt a particular worship ritual, that is not the right way. The right way is to you tell them the wisdom behind it, and you let them decide for themselves, because now you are not answerable for them. You're answerable for your own self. If parents think that they are answerable for their children, no. The children, as they grow up, they are answerable for their own selves. Also, let them have some time. They don't become punctually. I mean, they don't. They're. I mean, normally does not. This doesn't happen. That they come 5 times. They pray 5 times in a punctual way. This always happens in a gradual way. So give them time, and tell them the wisdom behind worship rituals, and wait and be patient.
And should we not also, Dr. Saab, not insist, but suggest to them that at least they should pray the shorter prayers and initially begin with praying only the first prayers? Because
Yes, of course. These are suggestions that
seven,
you can always
the,
tell them.
the
I mean,
17 rakat that
right.
is
Yes,
prayed in
of
Isha
course.
is something that dissuades, makes children run away from that.
So these are all advices that you can give out of wisdom and tell them, and I mean, then just let go of them.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Saleem.
Thank you.
Osama, please ask your question.
जी सलाम सर
Right.
मेरा क्वेश्चन था आपकी मैं पुरानी का लेक्चर सुन रहा था उसमें जब आदम की तख्लीक का ऊपर आप डिस्कस कर रहे थे तो उसमें मैं थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूज था कि अल्लाह ने जब कहा कि मैं आदम को तख्लीक कर लूं तो तुम सजदे में गिर जाना ये इवेंट पहले हुआ था या मुकालमा पहले हुआ था कि तुम आदम इनके नाम बताओ जब फरिश्तों से पहले नाम पूछे गए मैं थोड़ा सा इसमें कंफ्यूज था कि कौन सा इवेंट पहले हुआ था
Of
सजदे
course,
वाला
this the second event took place after the creation of Adam. It could not have taken place before the creation of Adam, because it's a dialogue between God and Adam, and the angels and Satan. So all of these characters were there in as living in individuals and entities. It could not have taken place before the creation of Adam. This took place after the creation of Adam.
No, I mean the sajda was done after Adam told the name, or it was before.
So Adam, what do you mean? Which was before?
I mean
So of course,
when
وَعَلَّمَ Adam al-asma, if you're referring to that verse, so it was Adam who was
yeah,
taught all these names. Of course, once he was born, it could not have taken place before he was born.
no, I understand that. But my question is, when Adam was created, when Adam was born, the sajda was after that or after the makalma?
So there is no definite. I mean, we don't have any exact sequence of events in that matter. All that we know is that both of these events took place. Whether one took place before the other, both of them are independent of one another.
Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see, inshallah, everybody. We'll see you all next weekend, inshallah. Thank you, Dr. Saleem.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.